Hey everyone, and welcome to the Graced Health Podcast. We are in the middle of a sunset series. I hope you heard the episode sharing how we are coming to the end of the Graced Health Podcast. I have invited several podcasters who I know, who I trust, who I love their content, and I'm introducing them to you so that when Graced Health is not coming through your ears anymore, you have someone to turn to. Today, I am talking with my friend, Heather Creekmore. Heather has been on the show a couple times, and I will include those in the show notes. But Heather writes and speaks hope to thousands of women each week, inspiring them to stop comparing and to start living. Through her Bible teaching, she encourages women who are trying to live in the world, but not of it. She's host of the Compared to Who podcast and author of several books, including Aging Gratefully, which we talked about here when that came out, a devotional on aging for women in midlife. Heather and her fighter pilot turned pastor husband, Eric, have 4 teenagers and live in Austin. Heather, welcome.
Thanks so much for having me, Amy. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Oh, goodness. I'm glad to have you back. That Aging Gratefully devotional. I mean, all of your books are great, Heather, but that one in particular just hit right at the right time. And so highly recommend that to everyone. Well, hey, you've been on a few times and we have talked about different topics, but in the spirit of this series, I just kind of wanted to introduce you and Compared to Who as an option for something else to listen to when Graced Health isn't coming in. So I would love for us to start out, Heather, with you just telling us about the woman who listens to Compared to Who. Who is she? What does she need most? What is she looking for when she when she hits play on Compared to Who?
Yeah. Well, my husband once heard that you reach who you are. And I think that that has very much applied to my podcast, my books, and my ministry. And who I am is a woman who kind of thought she had the God and Jesus answers tied up, like squared away, neat, like I'm set with all that, but really struggled with body and food and fitness. And, now I would say looking back, I definitely had an eating disorder that was undiagnosed. I became a fitness instructor. I did all the things. If there's a plan out there, I am sure I tried it because my biggest struggle was always my body struggle. And it wasn't until I was in my late 30s that God kind of revealed what the root of that struggle was. And so that's what I'm talking about on my show every week is really what are the spiritual roots of these issues? And we're practical. Like we just, I don't know. I think I've got a reputation for kind of saying things, just laying it out as it is with
Which
grace
we love.
and
Yes.
with humor. But, just like let's call it what it is. And so I'm encouraging women, I hope, who, like me, have wanted to honor their bodies, have wanted to steward their bodies well, have wanted to have a healthy Christian approach to taking care of bodies, but maybe who were a little distracted by all of culture and diet culture's messages and maybe got off track a little bit and, maybe have been confused about these things. So on my show, we're just trying to sort it all out.
I love that. And I love the attitude of we're just trying to sort it out because, it it's confusing. It's a lot. And I think if people are tuning in to you and most of my community is a faith-based community, like we want a heart for the Lord. And it's so easy for that heart to get pulled out in other directions. And so I really appreciate that. Heather, you and I are just about the same age. I think we are just a few months difference.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the women in my community are about my age, maybe a little bit older. 40s, 50s, 60s. I've got some women in their 70s, which I'm just like, oh, I love that. I love that they're continuing to learn. I love that they're continuing to, steward their bodies well and all of that. And I'm wondering if you can speak to this perimenopause, menopause age and stage as it relates to Compared to Who and topics that you discuss that will be relatable to my community.
Yes. Well, I mean, again, Amy, I think my people are the same age. We've got a few younger ones that I love because I'm so excited that maybe they'll get a head start on all these things
Right.
and not be where I was. But most of my listeners are 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. You know, this perimenopausal stage, they're saying actually like this is I don't know if they said it's the greatest or it's the second greatest risk season for eating disorders,
Yeah.
right?
Second
Because
greatest. Yeah.
maybe you made it through your teens or 20s without it, but you get to this place where hormones are changing, your body is changing. I mean, I've had that look in the mirror and I'm not sure who that is anymore. I've also had the look in the mirror and like, why is my mother staring back at me? When did this happen? My face turned into my mother's. Um, but it is. It's confusing. It's stressful. And so I've talked to, I don't know if you had Dr. Michaela Albertson on your show.
I didn't.
Oh, she's fantastic. So I did an episode with her maybe, I don't know, 6 months ago or so. And we kind of talked through the perimenopausal stage of life. And I've had several guests on to talk about this season. But, you know, the important thing, right, for those of us in this season is to not abandon everything we've learned just because our
Mhm.
bodies are changing, right? And so as it pertains to my like top issue, which is body image issues, right? Like what does it mean to really still believe that you have value and worth that comes from God alone, even in a season where maybe you feel like your, I don't know, value is eroding because you don't look like you used to, or your worth is eroding because things are changing. Your kids might not be at home anymore. Maybe you're, aging out of a career that you've had. What does it look like to truly lean into the truth of scripture that as we age, we're not getting more irrelevant, but God has something still for us to do. And so that's the kind of encouragement I'm trying to give listeners in our season of life and beyond.
That's so needed. That's so needed. That's something that I really struggled with my second book, Your Core Strength, because I felt so called to write that, even though I wasn't necessarily really consistently serving that age group because the age group was for teen girls.
Yeah.
But I had so many women come to me after I wrote Your Worthy Body and say, I need something like this for my daughters. And I'd been teaching teen fitness classes. Like I was in there, I was in it, but not too much. And I just felt almost inadequate to be going to these, schools and groups of young women because I felt like I had too much, gray hair that was covered up by color, of course, and wrinkles and stuff like that. And I'm like, all of a sudden, not only am I looking old, like I'm old, I look older than a lot of their moms. And I'm like, they don't want to be learning from me. And so all of a sudden I'm just like, golly, I feel like I've aged out of this group that I care so much about. And so anyway, that's a little bit of a tangent, but yeah, I totally know what you mean. Like women who are there who have gone through all of these, like these ways of our body aging and gaining so much wisdom at the same time, but then still feeling like that doesn't necessarily translate well to who they might be trying to serve. And that's tough. That's totally tough.
It is. I have a chapter in the aging devotional called Gaining Weight, but weight is spelled WAIT
Mm-hmm.
because boy, don't we stress in this season of life about the pounds that are coming on, getting those pounds off. What do we do? I mean, that can easily become our focus in this season of life. And yet, like God has something for us to do. We are still called. We are still here on purpose for his purpose. And what if instead of focusing on the pounds, we could focus on, okay, God, what do you have next for me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's the whole reason we're talking today is because God has said, all right, we're going to step out of this and I'm going to tell you what you're going to do next because I did not design you to sit idly by, but you've got to be still and you've got to spend time with me. And I can't tell you how much I've been meditating on this concept of Sabbath and shalom and stillness. There's an S theme in here somewhere, but but just waiting on that. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. Tangent.
Oh,
with all
good
of
stuff.
that.
Good stuff.
But yeah, I mean that's the kind of the season that we're in, I think. And we've had some conversations on the show about, like, well, what do we do when we turn 60? And all of a sudden we are kind of thinking differently than we used to. And the answer is you have permission to change and to do new things. Yeah. So going back to compared to who, sorry, I keep like taking all of these little, I feel like we're going skiing and we're like, you know how when kids ski, they go like in between the trees and they're like doing all those little jumps. Like that's me. I'm not landing
Love
very
it.
well with it, but that's okay.
Love it. Love it. When I
I'm
ski, I run
wondering,
into trees. So
we've had that happen at my house too. And I do not do that anymore.
Mhm.
I'm not brave enough.
Me neither.
um, but okay, so back to compared to who, I'm wondering if you have had any topics on your show that you were like, oh, interesting. I wasn't expecting that. So maybe the topic took a turn when you were interviewing someone. Maybe the topic landed differently, but just any kind of like surprises, either good or bad.
Oh boy, all the time. I think.
Mhm.
Um, you know, one issue that I've wrestled with for a long time is the love your body concept. When I first started doing this work, I was pretty much anti love your body. And let me explain that. It felt like in culture, that was the answer. And for anyone who's had body image issues for as long as I had had them, like it was falling on deaf ears. I'm like, I just love my body. Like I'm supposed to just flip a switch and go from hating my body to loving my body. Like that's not possible. And then what I saw in culture, right? Like it just, on Instagram, and I mean, things have changed since I started doing this, 7, 8, 9 years ago, right? But love your body as a mantra seemed to really be about pride. Right? It was body pride, like taking a picture of your stretch marks and your cellulite and posting it on Instagram because you are proud of it. Now, we're not there anymore as a culture, but that's where we were when I started doing this work. And so I was just kind of like, no, I'm not saying love your body. Like I'm avoiding all that language that just doesn't resonate. But I had a guest on, and she's not podcasting anymore either, but her podcast was called Love Your Body. And I was like, oh, Amy, her name was Amy as well. And I'm like, I don't know if yeah, but
Mhm.
and we had a fantastic conversation. I mean, because it was basically semantics. I mean, because she was using love as like, oh, we love our children, right? You care for your children. You think about helping your children, steward your parenting well, like that sort of thing. And so, yeah, she really challenged me to not be so afraid, if you will,
Yeah.
of
Sure.
that term. So I've come a long way on that. But recently I'm doing a series, it'll I guess be a few months in the past when this episode airs, but talking about the religious language that we use in dieting. Like, for
Mhm.
example, Amy, have you ever thought about the fact that we say certain items of clothing are forgiving? Like forgiving, what are they forgiving us for exactly?
Mm,
And
yeah.
does my dress have any ability to actually forgive my body? Like, and so I took a couple episodes and kind of have gone through like what like do we even notice the
Right.
religious language that we use, like a food is sinful, right? Or I'm
Right.
tempted, right? So, so much like nuance there that we've just come to accept. And so I don't know, that's one that I've had a lot of fun with recently, just exposing some of that.
Sure. Yeah, I love it and I love thinking about I think that's a great awareness. We were talking before we got on about just awareness in general of different things, and so I think that is a kind of a good awareness. Like to me, like the whole guilty pleasure kind of falls into that as well of, like why does something have to be make us feel guilty for having
Right?
ice cream or
Right.
whatever it is,
Like, what
chocolate
are
in
you
my
guilty of? Right? In whose
right.
court are you
Right.
guilty?
Yeah,
Right? Yeah.
exactly. And whose quarter yeah, I love it. I love it. Okay, so if someone has not tuned into you yet, which I can't believe that nobody has, or I can't believe that there has not been crossover in my community from me to you and back and forth. Um, where would you have them start if they have not yet tuned into compared to who?
So on Spotify and on Apple, the first episode is the trailer episode. And I would say listen to that first for sure. In that episode, I give my story and, kind of talk through the heart behind the show and, who we're trying to reach. And then I would say you could either start with, well, I did a series and you can find it on my website, improvedbodyimage.com. But I did a series of 30 days to pray for your body and your body image. And I've just gotten great feedback that that's been just kind of a great place to begin. The episodes are very short. I think they're, 10 minutes or less long, but you can just kind of, I don't know, get your pump primed, I guess. I don't know. It doesn't even prime a pump anymore. But just, kind of start to think about like, okay, what is really going on as I am worried about or obsess about, for some of us, my body, and what should my prayer be around these things? I mean, most of us have prayed the God, can you just zap me skinny before the event I have this weekend? And we know how well that works out or doesn't work out, as the case may be, right? But what can we be seeking the Lord for around, thinking about our bodies in a more spiritually healthy way? And so that series might be a great place to start. I really love some of the interviews I've done over the last couple of years. I don't think you need to go back to the beginning. Like you, Amy, I think I have more than 500 episodes now. And, I love how you said just a minute ago, like we have permission to change. And that's been an interesting, I know you've experienced it too. It's an interesting phenomenon when you have a public platform. Like I wrote a book in 2017, and there's some things I would probably take out of that book if I were to write it today, 10 years later. But so, yeah, you don't have to go all the way back to the beginning, or you might be confused. But there's good stuff sprinkled throughout.
Yes, that is good. Yeah, I actually ended up putting some dynamic content at the end of every episode saying like, hey, we're always evolving, episodes before, November or January 24, may have hints of diet culture and just be forgiving. So yeah, I totally get that. All right. So Heather, as we wrap up, I'm just wondering if you might be able to provide my listener just with a little bit of hope. You give people, hope for their body image. And if you could just kind of leave us with a little nugget from the beloved Heather Creekmore.
Oh boy.
No pressure.
The hope I would give, because what I find over and over and over again is there's a loss of hope, right? Most of us that have struggled with body image issues for, most of our lives, for many of us, decades, let's call it, we kind of have believed the lie that I'll always be this way. I'll always feel this way about my body. I'll always obsess over my body. And perhaps, like me, they've gone the route of, well, I'm trying to lose the weight. I'm trying to, do the exercises. I'm trying to get my body to a place where I will like it more or be happy with it. And it just doesn't work in the way they thought it would. Like perhaps it worked for a week or a month or a year, but it doesn't stay. You kind of bounce right back to that, oh, I'm back to feeling like, well, now I need to change this, and now I need to change this. So the hope I would give is that you don't have to stay there. There is absolutely a way out of obsessing over body image. I did a workbook called the 40-Day Body Image Workbook, help for Christian women who've tried everything. And I actually walk women through this workbook every season in a group coaching program called the 40-Day Journey. But there's absolutely hope. And most women that come in there are like, nope, there's no hope. So the first thing we have to do is, no, there's hope, because this isn't your thorn in the flesh. Right? Yeah. This isn't like the cross that God's asked you to bear, feeling bad. That's not good theology. Right? You might have other things in the flesh. You might have other crosses to bear, but how you feel about your body is completely changeable. And it doesn't require you to change your body first. This is a heart issue. And so there's hope.
Yeah. That's great wisdom. All right, Heather. Hey, thanks for coming on.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Last episodes. Yeah.
And Amy, let me just say publicly, thank you for shepherding your women well. Right? It's kindness, and it shows your character to want to lead them well as you finish. And kudos on a fantastic run. Like what a great What a great podcast you've had, and I know your women have been blessed by it.
Thank you. Well, I care a lot about them. I will definitely miss them. Okay, that is all for today. Go out there and have a graced day.